Practicing on. Okay, people, here we are at Club Dub Studio with another Date with Destinee. And this is the podcast to follow. We're going to give you all kinds of meaningful tips in life to help guide you through some of the mysteries that we might have some measures of success in sorting out for ourselves. I'm Eric Hansen of Eric Hansen Music, and I dabble in music and have a coming single release, the Floating song that's about to hit, and it'll be available on all streaming platforms. And I'll also be performing or helping to MC for the wonderful McFunky Band at Las Positas Winery this coming July 15th. That will be a celebration of a number of things, including my own birthday. Be halfway to 116. I'll be here at the event with Destinee, so you'll get to meet us in person and have some fine wine at Las Positas Winery. All you have to do is go to the website, laspositasvineyards.com, and RSVP, and that should be the only step to be in on that exceptional event with, again, McFunky. And Destinee is with me. She's going to remind the audience what she's about.
Hi, my name is Des. I am a bartender. I am a crazy cat lady. I have 2 cats, Loki and Cairo. I'll be working on music, hopefully very soon, starting my own candle business called the Bristling Bee Candles. And what else? And I'm funny.
And yes, and speaking of, yes, and in fact, she's also eventually going to get a single released of her own original music and get Spotified like all other dignified members of the 1% that make and produce their own music.
Spotified.
Yes.
Interesting.
And so today we are on our 11th episode, and there's, a couple things that come to my mind that I wanted to kind of make mention of. We're living in interesting times. On our 5th episode with the great Nick Sky, we address some of the realities, some that are not too positive, like the coming famine that's being arranged by the current administration and the nefarious forces to which that serves. So I recommend kind of checking in on that, because you're going to want to be prepared and not completely caught by surprise. Now, it's not really a theory when the conspirators tell you what they're doing. There's a very clear campaign by the what might be described as Obama's third term to attack food supplies, to attack energy independence, and to do all the things that are basically fulfilling campaign promises by first Obama, then the current installed quote-unquote president that is openly bragging about a coming famine. He's not even, there's no hiding about it. And on Biden's, when he emerged from the basement on his interesting campaign, if you can call it that, he literally said that he plans to end use of fossil fuel. So for those that are out online gaslighting, this is really Trump's fault, and the president doesn't control the price of gas, and, making the big long list of excuses, all of the energy policy, whether it's legitimately claimed by the executive branch or not, is absolutely aligned with the skyrocketing gas price that Obama literally promised on his own campaign a number of years back, for those who remember. So, and now there's, in the midst of a coming food crisis where families literally can't afford to get through their discount grocers or get out of Costco while they have enough money left to pay for the gas to drive the groceries home. People are literally down a full month's income, while our Congress of Apes is assembling to do show trials on ridiculous nonsense that's already been completely debunked in the art of capital kabuki. And in addition to that, Biden is literally converting food into ethanol. Ethanol was proven to be a fraud in terms of environmental impact. Ethanol actually is bad for the environment. It doesn't have any kind of net gain for the green-minded, much less the the clowns that are chasing after clouds of CO2 in the name of saving the earth.
There's actually lots more than just the environment, too. Ethanol can cause, and this is just on Google, ethanol can cause several types of damage to the engine in your vehicle. Your vehicle's fuel intake components can be damaged. In addition, ethanol can cause damage to the fuel pump in your vehicle. These repairs and replacements can range from a few $100s to more than $1,000 to take care of properly. He has signed an act. What did he sign? Was it a...
Well, he just signed a new act to basically promote ethanol use, which again is bad.
E15.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so that's bad for the environment. And it's literally in a time of a coming famine and food shortage that Biden himself acknowledged and announced in a boasting manner, is converting our food into something to burn in your car. So unless you guys want to try to eat gasoline, maybe it's not a good idea to convert food into fuel.
Yeah, so basically what is happening is from June 1st to September 15th, I believe, Biden is now he signed an act allowing E15, which is 15% ethanol in our gasoline, to save us 10 cents per gallon at the pump. And I'm sure that 10 cents per gallon is going to totally amount to the thousands of dollars in damage it does to our car, the damage it does to our environment. There's just absolutely no reason for this, no reason for it whatsoever. Like, why do we need to save 10 cents at, $6-7 a gallon? We don't need to save 10 cents. We need to save $3 Sorry for cussing. 10 cents it's not going to do shit. And I don't think allowing this, I think he has some sort of like malicious intent to this. I don't think he's really trying to help Americans. I think they know that it's harmful to the environment, that it's harmful to cars, and they know that lower class citizens can't afford to maintain their cars, and that this is going to prevent them from this is going to hurt them financially in the long run, and it's going to be an easier way to control people. It's an attack. That's how I see it. I know.
There is some good news on the horizon, because we really should. Well, actually, it's not good news, but it's something to appreciate, because I'm all about being grateful for the things in life that we're given right now. And I think we should actually all enjoy greatly the Biden inflation at the gas pump and the grocery store, because once these same communists put in their price controls, it'll be a nice nostalgic memory to enjoy while we're waiting in line for some biscuit batter for a couple hours, or when we're dodging bullets and bricks in the coming food riots. So it's, these are actually potentially good times that we'll come to appreciate with a nostalgic fondness in the not distant future, if we continue to allow the illegitimate government that illegitimati.
Make it a t-shirt.
Oh my God, yeah, we got to figure that out. It's too much of a tongue twister for now, and but I will work it out and have it well rehearsed for sometime after the break. And this is we're living through something that's not something that anyone that's alive today is familiar with, and especially not American citizens. And we're all victims, as the great Nick Sky pointed out. We're victims of politics. A lot of us would rather not think about politics. And in fact, that includes me. Even though I have 80 Facebook pages that are dedicated to political topics.
Is it really 80, or is that an
80.
Oh my gosh, really?
80, yeah.
That's crazy.
So, and the nice thing about those pages, I just added one called Obama's Third Term. So if you're in a discussion with somebody, and a lot of these pages that you're on when you're debating with people and their respective opinions, a lot of the pages don't have provisions to even add memes or charts or pictures. So the only way to kind of do that and present more concepts is by links. and that will work with hashtags. A lot of times people are bewildered when people use hashtags on Facebook, but it's like, hey, try it out.
It works.
Follow this one and see what you find. And I came up with some that are rather fun. One is Move On Cult. One is Breadline Burnout.
Breadline burnout. I like that.
Yes, and so it gives people a chance to be invited into a conversation, and it also gives people a chance to drill deeper. So if they see a concept that's new to them, they can say, well, I don't know about that. Let's see what I can find out. And it's a handy link that just takes you right in. But for those, Facebook, which I affectionately named Fashbook, actually manipulates that also. So there are hashtags that I've been using. One is Real Political Spectrum, right? Is that controversial? So I've been using hashtag Real Political Spectrum to get people to understand the way that things really lay out from the left to the right, and to dismantle some of the ridiculous lies that are told by the nutty Marxist professors that somehow assign Nazism and fascism to the right when it's really leftism. But a political spectrum is a spectrum. And most learn in basic science class that a spectrum measures something. So when you go edge to edge from one side to the other, something is increasing or decreasing as you make the slide, from one side to the other. So according to the leftist brain, they're convinced that rightism includes Nazism and fascism on the right, extreme right, and that communism, the other big state solution, is extreme left. So what's being measured exactly? How is it that there's extreme big state on both sides of the spectrum and that we're supposed to live between those things somehow? So when people get, belligerent and they won't accept that basic concept, that a useful political spectrum measures something, and they just go on with their belligerence, then they might even produce one. And I call that the libtard rectum. And that's one that shows Nazism is right and communism on left. And so what I'll tell them is like, okay, so you're saying that since I'm a libertarian, and I'm not either on that edge or the other edge, I'm completely opposed to big state, I'm for limiting government, I guess according to your libtard rectum, that would make me a centrist. And that upsets them too. See, they're determined by manipulating language to direct a conversation in a dishonest manner. So you can't even claim your own ideology. It's like, hey, I'm libertarian. Seriously, I'm libertine. Libertine means live. Libertarian means let live. It means minimize government as much as possible so that we as humans are bigger and can express ourselves in pursuing our own happiness, which is a concept that I think is even mentioned in the Declaration of Independence, and so is associated with our Constitution. So the big state solutions are all depriving people of liberty with the purported gain of getting some kind of payback where you're receiving something in exchange for that. And what do you receive in exchange? Well, to the most extreme leftist brain, you're receiving free housing, free healthcare, free food, and all these
air quotes.
All the free stuff is paid for by somebody. And most leftists will understand that money corrupts. See, most of the communists think money needs to be abolished. But if money is in the system and if it corrupts, then how is it that you support high taxation? How is it that you're whining about the billionaires like Trump or maybe Elon Musk, which, some people have different reasonable assessments of great hero to dark evil on the Musk side of things. But what we just experienced was a man who owned his own suit went up against the trillionaires that own the government, print the money, and collect the taxes. And so that David and Goliath story ended in a way where the Goliath of the trillionaires wound up winning in their final coup that happened in 2020. And for those that say it's not a coup, I can show you absolute proof that this was planned from the very beginning. In January of 2017, there were tweets saying the coup has begun by leftist blue checkmark accounts that are still there today. So,
We're at 0%.
0%? Oh, battery. Okay. So anyway, we'll fix that during the break.
Yeah.
And in fact, this might be a good time to go to break now. And once again, I might have soapboxed heavily right through the whole introductory segment. So,
Okay.
So that may be the purpose of the show, to convey a message. And obviously, the audience opinions matter much, because nobody can pretend to live in any form of democracy unless there's a democracy of ideas in the public square. And the public square is right here on YouTube, SoundCloud, wherever you're enjoying this podcast, or on Twitter, Facebook. That's called public square in modern terms. You either have a thriving discussion with all opinions expressed, or you can't even pretend to be for democracy.
Perfect. 'Cause
all other goods too. Fact is, Biden has sent a powerful message to oil and gas producers. He's going to do everything in his power to put them out of business. Kiddo, he told an activist in the campaign trail in 2019, look into my eyes. I guarantee you I'm going to end fossil fuels. He says that I guarantee twice. I guarantee you I'm going to end fossil fuels. So when people say, hey, John, how high are gas prices going to go? And I say $10 a gallon, people might say, oh, that's ridiculous. It's fear-mongering. It's going to end fossil fuels. You just simply look at the math, right? We have 326 million Americans, right? 240 million of which are over the age of 18 years old. And so let's just look at the numbers. If the same amount of people are going to be operating vehicles, and there's going to be less and less oil in production every month, every week, every day going forward, then what's going to be happening is it's going to become a game of who can pay the most to drive a vehicle, right?
And this is John Williams. So he's one of my favorite money guy accounts. So I urge you to check in the show notes below. There'll be a link to the content that we were just sharing. But again, as he pointed out correctly, the skyrocket gas prices wasn't just Obama's campaign promise. This was a promise made by Joe Biden in his words to end fossil fuel. So, gee, if you can't correlate that to what's happening, and if you're one of these that's still online ranting about, oh, the president doesn't control the prices, and look at the global prices, they're up everywhere, this is conspiracy theory. The very first action that Biden took with his executive orders, most of which were unconstitutional, was to kill American energy independence, leading up to the normal warmongering that you expect from the warmonger Dems. And they're taking on the bear in Russia to aid their accomplices in the Ukraine. So apart from that, things are looking real good. We're going to be eating well and filling up our tank real nicely in a very rationed basis. And again, we'll look back fondly on the ridiculous, obscene high prices once they put the price controls in. And that's the next stage. You heard it here, folks. When you start to see these people voting in price controls, that's when you do the final nail in the coffin of free market economy. And that's where you convert high prices into rationing and shortages. And one thing that I've often pointed out to friends, before we're going to talk about something much more lighthearted in a moment, but as I point out to friends, prices communicate the requirement. When something is needed, the price communicates to the people that are in a position to make the product that's needed to get one. Meat is actually another part of the discussion. But when the demand is there and the price reflects the demand, that actually causes people to act to deliver the product. People often use the words price gouging to describe what happens when there's a hurricane and some store has bottles of water selling for $7 or what have you. They don't realize that you actually want that higher price, because then the person that needs it has an option to getting it instead of looking at an empty shelf. So the price control and the rationing and the solution to quote unquote gouging is what creates a disruption to the supply. And when you have a higher price, that creates urgency on the people that have the stock to keep some for the person that really needs it on the shelf. And secondly, it also is an incentive for people in a position to bring replacement product to that location to do so with the appropriate measure of urgency. So price communicates what the demand is and responds to it and handles it. But speaking of pricing and free market capitalism, we do have an announcement that we're going to be pursuing a legal a suit against Starbucks, not for hot coffee but for cold coffee this time. And Destinee's going to explain her experience of this morning.
Oh man, this morning was a jumbled mess for me. Before I get into the coffee, I want to tell like what happened to me this morning. Before I get into the coffee, this morning when I was taking a shower at my boyfriend's house, still fully clothed, leaned over to turn the shower on, and it turns out that the last person who had taken a shower turned the shower handle towards like outside of the shower. So of course I open the door and I turn the shower on and the water just sprays me everywhere. And I'm like, oh shit, like just trying to quickly turn the shower off or turn the handle. And at this point I'm just like soaked, and I fixed it up, showered, and I was ready. But it was at that moment that I was like, oh man, if this is the start to my day, like I already know some stuff is going to go down today, because it always comes in three. Bad things always happen like in threes. That's my personal experience, at least. And so later I was picking up Starbucks for my boyfriend and I because he was getting gas, and I love iced white chocolate mochas from Starbucks. So I get my iced white chocolate mocha with almond milk and whipped cream, and I get his drink, and I get into my car. I guess I have it here. It's empty now, but they fill up my iced coffee to like the above the brim, which to me I'm like, yes, chef's kiss, amazing, like extra coffee, hell yeah. But I pick the coffee up after I get into my car to like drink some of it, and I guess it was so full that the lid came off and I just spilled coffee all over myself, all over my car. I like almost burst into tears. I didn't spill that much, so like I still had some coffee to enjoy, of course.
Lawsuit. Any attorneys listening know to connect with us right away.
Immediately. So it's my seat's kind of like leaned backwards. So the coffee is just like dripping down my dress, going all the way down my legs, like all over my car floors. I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, it's going to be 100 degrees out today. This is going to be such a terribly sticky situation. And I mean, like literally, like it's going to hit in my car so badly. I know when I get in my car to go to work after this, I'm just going to be hit with a wall of nasty dried curdled coffee. And then of course after that, I calm down. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, what's the point of being mad at this, right? Like being upset, being mad isn't going to change what happened. It's not going to it's not going to change what happened. So I might as well just be calm. But I'm driving and I'm like, oh God, there's got to be one more thing that's coming, because it always happens in threes. And so I'm on high alert because I tell myself, I'm like, okay, it better not be a car crash. And it's a good thing that I'm on high alert too, because I'm driving and I get on the freeway And then I drive a Honda CRV, and then another Honda CRV who was 2 lanes over started merging into the lane next to me. And I mean, like, I'm here, and he's like not parallel to me, but like slightly in front of me. Not far enough in front of me to where if he gets over, he won't hit me. But like, kind of, if you're watching this, like, we're like right next to each other almost. So he gets over into the next lane. And this is the moment I'm like, oh no, he's gonna merge into me. I just know it. This is the third thing. And he, at full speed, just like starts merging into my lane. So I have to lay on my horn, slam on the brakes. My car starts swerving. I'm terrified that the car behind me is gonna hit me. And he just sticks up his hand. Oops, sorry. Keeps going, keeps driving. I have to like slam on the gas just to like hit up to speed again, because I slowed down to like 35 miles an hour on the freeway, mind you, where people are driving like 75 miles an hour. And that was my experience. That was a great experience. And I blame Starbucks for all of this. It's all Starbucks' fault, because if I wouldn't have had that coffee overfilled, I wouldn't have... No, I'm just kidding. I don't care about it.
And it goes back to the shower too.
Yeah. I don't know if I can.
We're going to add that to the suit.
I'm going to have to blame my boyfriend's roommate. No, I'm just kidding. He's very kind.
Excellent. Good. So he won't mind paying the settlement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
He'll probably call it even for me leaving my hair wad in the shower this morning. He sent my boyfriend a text. He was like, "Your girlfriend left her hair on the shower wall again." And I was like, "Damn it."
I never do that to anybody. You know, I leave the shower completely clear of hair, and anytime there's any hair in there, I know that it had not a damn thing to do with me.
Not you. Maybe the beard hair.
Yes. So, but yeah, it's important to whenever you have one of those kind of rough starts to the day, it's important to give it high attention. And the roads these days are getting to be extremely dangerous because, you know, while they've been waging this big war on alcohol that you can't have. You can't have a damn drink and then find your way into the what do you call it, the drunk pool lane. And no, that was my solution that I came up with many years ago. Was all you need is a separate lane, because they have the diamond lane, so they could have one with like a little icon that's shaped like a martini glass.
I haven't heard it called the diamond lane in so long.
Yes, so then if we just add the drunk pool lane.
The martini glass lane.
Yeah, with a little martini glass as a symbol. Then anyone that's had properly prepared for a driving experience by, getting their... this is not an actual endorsement, people, for legal purposes. This is strictly for entertainment. For people that achieve a certain measure of exuberance by way of the spirits, then they have their own lane. And it can have like a little swirl, kind of a swish, kind of that back and forth to it. And if they're pulled over in that lane, you might have an officer tell you something like, "Next time you're in the drunk pool lane, may I suggest that at least 3 of you are legally drunk."
Exactly.
So, yes, no. And again, that was strictly for entertainment purposes and for people that like jokes and to be able to interact. I do occasionally show up at the Tommy T's in Pleasanton, California. And
speaking of California, I think we should probably go to another break, and then when we get then when we get back, I would like to discuss maybe some like ideas on how to like streams of income, like try and help people come up with some ideas to make more money, because people, inflation nowadays is just crazy freaking expensive. It's going crazy high. It hit 8% in just May alone. So maybe we can talk about some like money in the next segment.
Oh, we're going to have a money moment here on Date with Destinee. And it's back in on a Date with Destinee. And we had touched on kind of a topic of finances, money, success. And it occurred to me that that some of that can be found on, I set up a page called Money Matters. So if you happen to be on Facebook, there's going to be some excellent content there to sort of sort things out in this unprecedented economy, if you can call it that. There's what we're experiencing right now is may seem like incompetence on the surface to most. There are actually some that actually think that everything's just completely fine, and they're kind of like the 2%ers that think that Biden's doing a great job. What are you talking about?
More than 2%. Oh.
Yeah, and so there's actually, a CNN said that 2%, this was a CNN poll, that 2% thought Biden was doing a fantastic job. So that means if you're in that group.
They must be old people who
Well, yeah.
don't do
If you're in that group, 98%, only 98% of the American population exceeds your level of intelligence. So that's... But when it comes to trying to navigate something like this, there's a lot of complexities. There's a couple rules of thumbs that I'd propose that you consider. Never accept as a life coach somebody that has like an 80-inch belt size. So that rules out Oprah, obviously, and
100%.
And of course, Joy Behar has made herself a complete lunatic. Well, somebody made it. I don't know if she's responsible for making herself into anything, but ultimately, there are some great names that have achieved success and that have excellent guidance that have been proven effective for people to emulate. And one such example is Tony Robbins. There's a book, Unlimited Power, that I read many, many, many years ago. And I found that completing that bit of reading made a significant difference in achieving different things, achieving different goals in life that were in front of me at that time. And of course, the same basic wisdom carries today. Now, for those that don't like to read books, there's a chance to go on one of those famous tours, those retreats with Tony Robbins by way of a Netflix program that's called I'm Not Your Guru. And so you can literally just turn on your Netflix that you might already be paying for and search up I'm Not Your Guru, and it'll be impossible to watch that documentary without getting a lot of the value that people pay thousands of dollars to go on their little retreat with, the coal walking and all that kind of rituals that normally go with that. So, but apart from navigating through the difficult time ahead of us, there's other resources that we're going to try to add to the show notes below. However you conduct yourself, it's very important to realize that once you master the Zen of Armageddon, that you're basically prepared to suffer any adversity. Oh, and on that note also, Nick Sky, that we had on our show recently and we expect to have back, had informed me of a good link for getting certain kinds of food items stored, in that including canned meat. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add that to the show notes. The show notes for sure.
Show notes.
And so, yes. But Destinee might also have a couple other things that she wanted to share with you.
Finances-wise?
I'm putting her on the spot.
Oh, yeah. My favorite place to be. Well, I kind of figured because gas prices in California are getting super high. And inflation is up 8% just in May. And I don't know what the total of inflation percentage is, but it's probably more than like 12%. So I'm a working class citizen. I'm a bartender. I work 5, sometimes 6 days a week. And currently I am trying to put a lot of my extra time outside of work into streams of income. I think, especially if you live in California, even if you don't live in California, being a working class citizen, it's extremely hard to save money right now. And I want to be able to buy a house someday. I want my friends and my peers to be able to buy houses some days. And I think that we should all work towards building up our revenue in streams of income. So that's why I'm starting my own candle business. And I know a lot of friends, well, okay, not a lot of friends, but I know quite a few friends who have their own crocheting business, or she's not my friend, but like I bought a milk carton, like it's a plastic milk carton where she like puts Lionel designs on it. And I think doing something like that, turning a hobby into a side hustle or a side business, I think that would be an ingenious way to like create more revenue for yourselves. Now, the problem with something like that is it does take a long time to build up and there's no guarantee of success. But I think a lot of people nowadays have every intention of just like selling something online and making millions, when you don't need to make millions. You don't even need to make, more than maybe a couple hundred a month. But selling something at your local farmer's market, that's a great way to make extra money, but it's also a great way to network. Here in California, I feel like there's predictions of famine and, or even if not famine, but food shortages. We're already having cat food shortages, baby formula shortages. I just learned yesterday there's a tampon shortage.
Bloody hell.
Exactly. Now, who knows in the coming months how many more shortages there will be. Now, having that network in your local farmer's market can be extremely beneficial. I'm going to be selling candles. Who knows, in a couple of months, maybe someone will think it's extremely beneficial to trade some food for candles or some something from a farmer's market for candles. I just think that it's a great idea to turn a side hobby into a side hustle, as well as maybe getting into some market affiliations. But I am not the best person to come to for that. I just think that people should be doing more research into getting their streams of income, because it's not going to be easy the next couple of months.
A good joke comes to mind. Mm-hmm. What did the socialist use before candles?
What?
Electricity.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I decided candles. I figured, in the coming years, if electricity doesn't work out for us, I can always sell candles.
Yes, and there's this should be a topic of its own show, but the so-called green ideologues of the UN and the IPCC and all the goons, the globalist pricks, the WEF, that part of their agenda is to cure the public of their expectation of what they call constant electricity. So that's another thing. If we allow things to continue on their current path, we'll soon be living in a wonderful utopia where basically you have certain hours where you can expect to maybe charge something or plug into something, and that the rest of the day is basically just one long powerless evening. And that's another thing people don't realize, is that the elites that literally call themselves elite publicly, we the elites at Davos and whenever they have a chance to boast about their latest schemes, do not support anything but hand-to-mouth existence for the bulk of humanity. So there's the lifestyle of the elites, and in fact, I think there was just an article indicating that they're exempting themselves, corporate jets, private jets, from some new jet tax that's being proposed. They managed to get themselves taken off it. So while they're going to add more to our, if we even have the means to still take a trip to Hawaii once a year, once every couple of years, they're going to pound that with a tax. And they're not going to pay it on their jets, their yachts, or anything else that they do for themselves. So it's a very precarious place we found ourselves, where the elites identify themselves as a different entity than humanity. And humanity, they constantly describe problems of too many carbon footprints on the earth. Mm-hmm. And so maybe it's not that great an idea to trust these people to expand our to give us affluence, longevity, happier, live long and prosper kind of lifestyle for ourselves. And yes, so.
And yes.
That's all I had to say on the matter.
Love that. Yeah. Today is
We're lagging.
We're lagging here.
I'm still having some damn coffee here, and I'm
finishing up.
We had some bacon, but this is, I think, going to be a chance to segue into the next show, which will be this coming week.
Yes.
And so we want to thank you for joining this time on a date with Destinee.
Hell yeah. This episode was a little bit shorter. I just think without the guest, I really love having people on, and I love asking questions and getting to know people. And I love when people come on and they really bring something to the table, something new for me to learn, something new for you to learn, for all of us to learn. So I think that one of the reasons our shows are a little bit shorter when we don't have guests, it's just because we don't have those people to really dig the information out of, you know. But anyways.
Yes, and before we head out completely, I think it's worth giving a little shout out to Bryson Gray, because he did it again with another highly controversial treatment of Pride Month.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to offend everybody with this one. God soldier.
I haven't heard this yet.
Let's get it. Real Christ gang, I don't recognize no Pride Month. Revelation 21, hey, you thought he lied, huh? What happened inside of Mega More? They all fried, huh? Y'all keep disrespecting y'all, I keep on slide, huh? I'm just trying to make it in them heaven gates. Repent and turn from sin, I'll be reprobate. Pride of deadly sin, but don't celebrate. If you don't become new, the only hella ways. Trade that pride flag for a Bible, you can swap that. Calvin Klein got trannies in they ass.
And that's all. We had a couple thoughts as we were wrapping up, and I think I'm going to hand the mic to Destinee, who's going to present some thoughts that you might find to be helpful.
So I brought up previously how I think maybe start selling at a local farmer's market could be beneficial financially, but that's not the only reason I brought it up. Within the next coming months, there could be famine and food shortages, and who knows what other kind of shortages, toilet paper, whatever it is. Here in the Bay Area, there's a lot of people with just super creative hobbies or with trade skills. And I really think that honing those skills and becoming a part of a farmer's market community won't only be beneficial because you can make extra income. It'll actually be beneficial as well, because bringing yourself to be a part of that community will allow more things to be brought to the table. So you've got farmers and seamstresses and chandlers, however much more we can bring into those local communities will benefit all of us. It'll benefit you. It'll benefit me. In the coming months, when there's less on the shelves at the stores, you can be safe and guaranteed that and knowing that you're a part of a community that has maybe some stuff that you need. And that's really why I think that becoming a part of this community is not only going to be beneficial for your financial status, but it's also going to be beneficial because you need to network with the people living in your community and the people who are bringing these skills into that little network. So I just wanted to add that in, as well as, having extra money, just because I felt like it was necessary to give more reason as to why being a part of a farmer's market, or I keep calling it a farmer's market, but I know there's other things like there's other things to be a part of too, like little communities, little street sales. It's not just farmer's market.
Kind of parallel institutions is another concept, as society is kind of, as a managed society is falling into a state of great disrepair. A lot of times that people survived their own communist revolutions was by way of setting up parallel institutions where basically there's people get together in a way that is independent from the government institutions and what's going on with the structure of society at the time, where you kind of create your own offshoots, you create your own relationships, and you deepen those ties of interdependency. Because depending on government, is some of you that know a little bit about history, doesn't really work out. And another thing to bear in mind is looking for efficiencies. A lot of times people will take steps to save money. Oh, I can't afford to do that at this time. when it might be a case of something they can't afford not to do. So whenever you're picking a place to live, you have to think about where you're working and how far you're driving. So if you're saving $800 a month on rent to pay $1,200 a month for extra gas, it's not a gain. So you have to make sure that you're keeping a bigger picture in mind when you're performing calculations on your next moves of where to live, what to drive, how far to drive, where to work, and also try to apply good judgment to relationships as well, because any of us can take a good or bad job, but a relationship has to be very carefully thought out with a checklist. So that's another thing to bear in mind as you're pursuing your own happiness against the sea and the tide of whatever government's arranging for us. And the
I thought he was going to say the sea and the tides of love.
And oh yes, and the tides of love. So yes, love is grand, and as long as it doesn't involve small children or farm animals, and we have to remind the Democrats about that.
Or furries.
Yes.
Or furries.
Yes. And so with that, that should close out this second episode of Pride Month very nicely. And also remember, people, that pride is also a sin.
Welcome back to Pride with Destinee. No, I'm just kidding. Oh.
And we're out.
That was a good end segment there. I'm glad we went in and added that.